sound check.
Oh, okay.
Just briefly tell me how you got here this morning, both of you ladies.
I walked.
Oh
said
yeah,
morning.
you walked. I took a cab. I took a cab. There was no way I was doing anything public today. It's freezing.
It is cold.
Normally I would actually walk. That would be my exercise.
Yeah. No, I love walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I can do actually with my stupid ailments. So.
You sound wonderful, ladies.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead, turn myself off, give you the cue, and we will be all set. Hold on.
Your editor's going to have to do a lot of editing.
Unbelievable. Actually, I think that's my girlfriend's, because when I did it with my girlfriend and somebody the other day,
Right.
she had a cough.
Oh.
And I know she's not it's nothing severe.
Right.
But ever since then, I've had it. So, but I'm not sick. It's okay, guys. Don't freak out. Yeah. Welcome to TerraceTruthTalkin. I'm Joanna Bonaro, and today is Wednesday, and under Wednesday, which is our fitness category, I've created a subset for physical therapy. And to talk about physical therapy is, a physical therapist who has been my physical therapist for many years and whom I love. But I didn't bring her on for her expertise, which is astounding. I brought her on because I love her, and she's got the best laugh in the whole world. So thank you for coming on, Melissa Russo-Franco.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, and you have to laugh at some point because
will.
everybody's going to have to hear.
I will laugh a ton.
Melissa currently works at Corinthian Physical Therapy, which is very conveniently located Midtown.
Yes.
Right near
Grand Central.
Right near Grand Central, yeah. And she has a doctorate of physical therapy from Temple University, among her many other scholastic achievements. And she's skilled in injury prevention and neck pain, which is how I was introduced to her, sports injuries, rehab and physical therapy, and the list goes on. So instead of my saying what your wonderful expertise is, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I was in my bachelor's in physical therapy or bachelor's in science at the University of Buffalo. And after completing my 4 years there, I decided that I wanted to work with the performing arts community. So I hounded down this physical therapy office, which used to be where Steps is on the Upper West Side. It's a dance studio.
I remember. I used to go to that.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I just found that out now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were like on the floor right below Steps. And there was a Pilates studio that he owned next to it as well. And we had the great opportunity to work with a man who worked with Joseph Pilates. And so we incorporated a lot of our physical therapy with Pilates. And then I would work there during the day. And then at night we would go to the Broadway shows and go backstage. And I was given 3 months trial. And they said, if the theater people do not like you, you will be fired. So I said, okay. So I'll give this a shot.
Okay.
So
that gave you a huge amount of confidence, right?
So I was freaking out at the age of 21, just trying to I hope everyone would like me. And thank God it all worked out. And I worked there for many years. And then I decided, I met my husband, and he took me out to...
Who's a real hottie, by the way, guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
And he dragged me out to New Jersey. So for a few years, I worked at Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey, worked for the theater community there, as well as the New Jersey Ballet. And I also then changed gears and did... what you would call, I guess, the Ironman competition, which is the crazy...
You did that?
No, I did not do it.
Oh.
No, I helped people that were in the competition get back to, healing, or a lot of hamstring strains and all kinds of crazy things happen while they're training for this crazy, I guess, this course. And then my friend, Heidi Green, contacted me, and she's like, would you want to come back to New York? And at that point, physical therapy was really changing, and I was getting very frustrated that I couldn't treat for an hour. And I really wanted to get back to that. And so I said, well, let me see if it'll work. And I asked my husband if, could I come back to New York and work in New York?
Yeah, because you have a family, and also it's a question of
right. And I had two boys, and they were very young.
It?
Right.
Yeah.
Could we balance
with
it?
His job and your
right. So he said, if you can make it work, go for it, because he knew I was miserable and he wanted me to be happy. And we worked it out, and I'm here 3 days a week, and I still do backstage on Broadway per diem, and everything is very balanced, and I'm very happy. So I hope it continues that way.
Yeah, I have to say I want to backtrack because I had neck problems at one point. It's like 5 or 6 years ago. I couldn't turn my head to the right. I couldn't do it.
Right.
And I went and did the MRI and did stuff which we'll talk about later about for women over 40 when you have problems and when you need it. But I found out about I had been sent to other physical therapy places, and they were all very, very good. Mm-hmm. But what I never really liked was the fact that it wasn't hands-on, and you really weren't one-on-one. The therapists were in charge of how many people at a certain time, so they'd spend 5 minutes with you, tell you what exercises to do, and then they'd leave you. And I never found it, because I was in so much pain,
right,
really helpful, to tell you the truth.
Right.
And again, part of my problem wasn't the exercising; it was I couldn't move.
Right.
So then I was told about Corinthian, and there are a lot of wonderful therapists there, but I got you. So, and we hit it off right away. Mm-hmm. And Melissa started, Melissa gives us exercises and all, but she started really doing, I don't know what the technical term is, but hands-on adjustments.
Yeah, it's considered manual physical therapy.
Okay.
So, or functional manual therapy, where you're really assessing the soft tissues of somebody's body, whether, if there's pliability to it, is there restrictions in it, is it causing a restriction because of the tissue, or is the bone causing the restriction, or something with your alignment. And then we assess that through posture and, through several tests that we do, and then we determine where is the core problem coming from? And
you did. And what I thought was phenomenal was I could literally, and I've always been very limber and pretty physically fit, and then all of a sudden I can't turn my chin an inch to the right. And after working with Melissa, it took around, 3 or 4 months?
Yeah.
And
3 or 4 months.
I think I was going twice a week, and through that the exercises, but also what's the term you just used again?
Manual therapy.
Manual therapy. Why can't I remember that? That's easy, right? Manual therapy.
The torture.
Yes.
The manual torture.
But I don't mind that, actually. It's like, go, sure, dig in. And all of a sudden I could move, and I thought that was wonderful. And along with every single time we have a session, we kind of have a lot of fun.
We do. Yeah. You get to know a lot about your patients, which is kind of a fun and amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I think people's tension and a lot of their stress and a lot of what's ailing them is something that's deeper than what I can do. And getting that out of somebody and finding out what the real core problem is, whether it's stress at home or stress at work or stress in their life, I feel that if we kind of get to that during our treatment, and that's why my treatments are also very talkative, because I like to keep, also to distract the patient from what I'm doing to them, because I'm physically hurting them. But on top of that, the fact that, a lot of these things, or a lot of things that we go through in life, is because of things that we're not thinking about, or things that we're burying in ourselves. And I think through doing this for almost 20 years now, I just feel that, if I can really find out what's really bothering the person, or what's really holding them back, or causing this neck pain or this low back pain, it kind of helps get that person better faster.
Mm-hmm.
And it, that you kind of have to become their therapist as well. It's crazy like that.
Well, also because you're just you spend, what is it? It's an hour appointment.
It's a one-on-one hour
And
appointment.
it's one-on-one. And it's
in a
literally,
private.
it's private and it's one-on-one.
Right.
And the cost is really the same. It was covered by, I've had 2 or 3 insurances through the years,
sure.
and it's always been covered.
Sure.
And what was great was that it was one-on-one. And I think for me, that I'm the type of patient that appreciated it. Whereas normally I'm like, no, I don't need one-on-one. It's okay. Don't pay attention. I loved the fact that for the pain and the physical ailments that I had, that I could go to Corinthian and Melissa.
And you really can't get that kind of benefit in any therapy situation unless you're treating someone for at least 45 minutes to an hour. They're not getting the benefit of it. And that's why I decided to come back to New York, because I said, if I cannot do this and do what I was trained to do, I don't want to do it at all. Because it's really important that you get that hour session to focus on everything you need to focus on. And you need that time.
Yeah.
And you cannot do that treating 4 to 5 patients in an hour.
No, it's just not feasible.
So, I know.
So, because the podcast is targeted to the women who are in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, I asked Melissa also to come on, not to talk about my problems, but to talk about the common problems that she encounters for women within a certain age range, because of the living and wear and tear. And we wanted to talk about, you said one of the primarily a lot of things that happen for women, especially, let's talk about menopause.
Yeah. Okay. So menopause, unfortunately, or perimenopause even, for especially in your 40s and 45 and up, you're unfortunately, because of the hormonal imbalances and everything that's going on, a lot of women develop migraines, which they've never had in their life, and then all of a sudden they're getting these searing migraines.
I had my first migraine 2 years ago.
Oh.
I didn't even know what it was.
Right. Did you see, like,
I
you
just
had to go in a dark room?
I got this electrifying pain in my whole head and behind my eyes, and I was in rehearsals, and I had to perform, and I finally I came back from rehearsal, which was in New Jersey, so it took me an hour and a half, and of course there was
I know about that.
traffic through the tunnel, and I was beyond, I couldn't, lights were killing me.
Yes, yeah.
And I didn't understand, and I kept on taking Advil and ibuprofen, and then I said, I have to go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
So I went to the emergency room, told them that I had these problems, and they rushed me through, and I didn't even know why. I was like, this is my heart, because they all thought I was brain hemorrhaging.
Right, they worry about a stroke. Right.
Or meningitis or something.
Right.
And which is, I found out later on, my husband wasn't telling me because he didn't want to get me upset.
Sure.
And they did the MRIs, and they did, I even got a spinal tap.
Spinal tap? Ooh.
Yeah, and then they found out that I had a migraine.
That's amazing.
So,
So this is very debilitating for women. Like, they have to call out of work. They sometimes have to leave work. It sometimes leads to vomiting.
I don't see how anyone could work when you have a migraine.
No, they can't. They literally
would be miraculous.
I mean, I had a woman yesterday who came in the morning, and she's like, can I get in this morning because I'm literally feel the migraine coming on and I need it to be stopped. And that's where we come in, and we'll release a lot of the spasms and try to get the tissue to calm down, as well as neutralize the spine and keep it in a neutral position. Because a lot of these women have this crazy forward head posture from hours at their desk. You know, they're spending hours on the computer and on their phones and in meetings, and they're constantly sitting, and they're slouched, and their head's going forward, and they don't realize during that whole time your neck and your shoulder muscles are on fire. And, the body can only take so much. And because of menopause, and also because as we get older, unfortunately, we're losing the elasticity in our muscles, the bone mass, the tissue pliability and fluid, that everything gets tight and stiff quickly. And so this has to be addressed. So with a lot of the menopausal women and with migraines, we work a lot on posture, and as well as getting the soft tissue and doing the proper stretches, daily stretching in the neck. And then also, I always tell them, undo what you did all day. So if you're sitting all day, the last thing I want to hear about you doing is sitting watching TV. If you want to watch TV, you need to lay down. because you need to get that stress off your neck. And it's a huge thing. And like I always, also hydration. A lot of women, they drink a ton of coffee all day. They're not drinking water or enough water. So water is a big thing.
And that stretching of the neck, I know you gave me a lot of neck stretches, which I hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, it's huge. Stretching in the neck is huge. And like, and holding, like no one realizes, I always say time yourself. Because they're like, I say hold the stretch, anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. And they're like, I never realized how long that is. This is super long. Like, you don't think about how long 30 seconds to a minute is because we're always running. We never stop, especially here. So it's very important to be stretching daily. And like I say, undo what you did all day. Okay. That's really important.
Also, after menopause, only because we're older, is that whole the posture and that Dowagers Hump that you see older women have.
Right.
And what can women do to prevent that? Or what awareness should they have? Or besides saying, well, sit up straight. But even I always thought I was very aligned, and I don't have a widow's bump.
Right.
But I know at one point you said to me, Joanna, your shoulders are rolled forward, and I didn't even realize it.
Right.
So it's a question of, I know you had said to me, do shoulder rolls and
shoulder rolls, pec stretching is huge. Stretching out the pecs, which are the front muscles in front of your chest, is really huge because as we get older, we start to lose the muscles and the strength in between our shoulder blades. So our back, basically, where your bra line is. And all those muscles we stop using because we're slouching and we're sitting all the time. We're not using those back muscles. So when I say is like a lot of the times I give people exercises to strengthen up those muscles between their shoulder blades, whether it's rowing or doing some kind of like Superman or stuff like that to get their back stronger. And then you have to release everything in the front of your chest because it's pulling everything forward. And women don't think about that. And another huge thing about that is your bra. Women who have a chest wear bras that they should not be in. I always say it's not good to be in a very loose or strappy bra if you're heavy chested. You have to be in a very supportive bra. And patients get so mad at me because they're like, I'm not wearing the Playtex 18-hour bra. And I said, well, it's either that or you're going to continue to have pain. And they put the bra on for the first time, and I kid you not, they always come back and they're like, this bra is amazing.
Melissa, you were right. How many times in your life have you heard, Melissa, you were right?
I just had someone call me the other day and they're like, the doctor said this, you were right. I was like, well, I mean, I've only been doing this for 20 years, so when are you going to start believing me? I guess it must be how young I look all the time. Everyone always says, like,
well,
you look so young.
She looks like she's 25. I always say to her, you're my baby. And she looks at me like, I'm like, well, yeah, actually, you could be. So there you go.
But bras are huge. And you have to look at good bras. And I always say everyone should probably get fitted every few years with a bra specialist. There's so many here in the city, and you can really they're really great at what they do, and they can really fit you, and you would have no idea, like, oh my god, I'm not that cup size anymore, because as into your 40s and above, everything changes, your muscle mass changes, so that means your breast mass is going to change. Like, yes, the breast is mostly made out of fat, but you have your pecs there, and you have your intercostals and your other muscles and your shoulders, and everything's changing. So of course, your bra size is going to change as well. It's very important.
Well, let's talk about something that I've just become aware of, and thank goodness I'm not suffering from, but Melissa had said to me, this is something that seems to be common, too, for women as they age. Frozen shoulder syndrome.
Yes.
It's got a catchy phrase.
I know, right? It's kind of scary.
It sounds tasty.
It sounds tasty. It's like frozen. Frozen shoulder, to this day, no one knows why it happens, but they're finding that it does happen in women more than men, and it usually happens to women who are going into that menopause stage of their life, or they're from 45 and above. And you'll wake up one morning for no reason, or start to notice that your shoulders are stiff, and like, I can't raise it's usually one arm, it's never both, and I can't raise my arm. Oh, I can't put my bra on. And then it gets stiffer and stiffer. And then what's called the freezing phase. And then it freezes. And at that point, you panic and you go to the doctor, and they tell you, "Oh, yeah, you have frozen shoulder."
And by freezing, you mean you can't move.
You cannot move. Right. You cannot move your shoulder.
That's scary.
It's very scary. And it's like, the one lady was like, I thought like I was having a stroke. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't move my arm, and I don't understand. I thought I was becoming paralyzed. And it's this swelling and what they call adhesive capsulitis, which is a swelling in the shoulder capsule and scar tissue that forms, and you literally cannot move your arm. And physical therapists then come in, and your doctor sends you to a physical therapist, and it's torture. It's torture for us too. I want everyone to know that, and to get that person to mobilize their shoulder again and to get it moving. And it takes a lot of work out of the patient. They have to be very diligent about it. And
do they have to ice it or heat it? What do you have to do for that?
They would heat it. So
they would heat it.
Yeah, you have to try to keep it warm, and so that you want to keep it mobile. I always say to them, like, make sure you take a hot shower in the morning and stretch in the shower and raise your arm up and just get it mobilizing. But it's a long process, and it can take up to a year to unfreeze, and it's terrible. And
is there any way to prevent that, or is it?
There's theories that they think that for women, like, you stop doing certain things that you don't realize anymore. Like, you stop raising your arm above your head. Like, think about it. When's the last time you raised your arm besides putting like deodorant on or shaving your armpit?
Well, I know just because I'm aware of movement too,
right.
But I'm always trying to touch the edge of my bra strap,
right,
by lifting your elbow to the ceiling almost and touching the middle of your spine. And I will do those stretches because I must be able to touch in between my shoulder blades to my bra strap. And if I haven't done it, like I know I hadn't been doing it for a while because I had some other issues and I just wasn't thinking about that.
Right.
And then I tried one arm and it was, oh, great. And then I tried the other arm and it was 2 inches less distance,
right,
or more distance, and I got really upset and I said, oh no, this is not acceptable. I have to start doing this again.
Yeah, so when you think about it that way, it's like, so they think that's the stretching, and they think also because we start being more sedentary, so we're not using, we're not working out, we're not using our muscles as much anymore. A lot of it, we're not lifting our kids anymore, you're not doing these arduous tasks anymore, so they think that could be part of it, or they don't know if it's it, or a hormonal imbalance, or what it is. But honestly, no one really knows why it happens.
No one knows, and it affects one's shoulder,
yes,
which is so strange.
Right. All right. And what the scary part is like sometimes, unfortunately, one will thaw, and then within a few months or a year, the other one will freeze. And it's just so debilitating, and it's so upsetting. So I always tell my patients, make sure you're stretching every day. Make sure you're doing some sun salutation and yoga, something to move your arms up. Make circles with your arms every day. Just move. And unfortunately,
we all think
again,
we're moving, but we're not. We're not stretching, moving.
Right. We don't realize how thoughtfully, carefully. The computer has really dampened or caused all these new injuries in the last 20 years, I guess. And people don't realize that our arms are down all the time. Think about it. Texting, calling people. Now everything is, wireless. So why are we using our arms for anything unless, you have nice high cabinets in your house or a closet where you can put like your clothes away or something like that. Other than that, we're really not. So frozen shoulder is definitely something to watch out for. Or if you start to feel symptoms, you need to go to the doctor right away.
Right away. Don't say, oh, it'll go away. It's not going to go away.
It will not go away. It will not go away. And if you start
everybody
to feel,
listen to that. Yes. It's not going to go away. It's going to get worse.
Right.
And even perhaps if you just think or you have an inkling and, the doctor's going to think I'm crazy.
Right.
I would say better safe than sorry.
And the doctor will not think you're crazy. And a lot of the times the doctor gives a cortisone shot, and that helps to stop the freezing from happening.
Oh,
so that will slow the process down, and they'll get you into therapy right away. And it's really important that if you start to feel like your arm is getting stiff or you're losing motion in your arm, you go to the doctor right away. You go to the orthopedic right away.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to yet another one of the many.
These are so pleasant. This is so uplifting. All the ailments that you will be facing. Here we go.
But I think hey, look, we don't all like it, but it's going to happen to all of us. So,
right, in some way or another.
In some way or another. I know I get a lot of this stuff. My twin sister barely gets any of it, but she has her own issues for other things. So
right.
we always say we're even on the list. You know, Joanna's list, Virginia's list. Oh yeah, we're about the same. Let's talk about osteoporosis.
So osteoporosis or osteoarthritis starts to occur after the age of 40 because of loss of bone mass. We produce the most amount of bone, or we're finished producing all the bone we're going to produce probably around the ages between 20 and 30. And then after that, we start to lose bone mass, and also we start to lose bone strength. So a lot of women should be tested for this, usually anywhere between, I would say, around 50, and make sure that get your bone density test done, and go to the doctor and see where you're at. And
so that at least you have a benchmark.
You have a benchmark, and then you realize you have to start doing stuff, whether it is lightweight exercises. And also, because if you do have something like this, you don't want to be that weekend warrior. You don't want to be that person like, oh, I need to get in shape, so I'm going to start lifting all these weights, and or I'm going to start running because I want to be in shape and I want to be fit now that I, have more free time on my hands. And they start to get stress fractures and like, well, why is this happening to me? And it's because a lot of the times is you don't realize that you might have osteoporosis or you might have osteoarthritis, and you need to get everything checked out. So before you decide to do on like this crazy exercise, or a lot of people at the age of 45 or 50, they're like all of a sudden like, oh, I got to get my life back together. I gotta strengthen. I gotta be fit. I gotta do this and this, and they go crazy and they join like those CrossFit classes and stuff like that. And then they're like, oh my God, I tore my hamstring. How did that happen? Why did that happen? And it's like, well, did you get maybe you get a full workup before you started to do this crazy exercise routine? So everyone's like, no. And it's really important. Go to the doctor. Get everything checked out. Make sure you're good. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't go to the doctor every year. It's so important every year to go to the doctor. Check out your bone density. Check out your blood levels. Check out a full panel for your vitamins and minerals. Make sure you have everything. Like, so many women are anemic and they don't even realize it.
Or low iron. That's low iron.
Yeah,
low iron. I had that. Yeah.
Right. Low iron or low vitamin D. I mean, vitamin D is huge.
And folic acid.
Right. And we don't get a lot of vitamin D because, in the city here, we're not getting sun. We're not getting light. And we're not outside. I mean, all of us are inside now. They're saying, I don't know, almost like 15 hours a day, at work. And we're not getting any sunlight. So
when someone comes in and has osteoporosis or osteopenia in the hips.
Right.
What are you, once they've been diagnosed and they come to you, what are you doing at a session, let's say? So
again, we're assessing posture. I'm assessing, especially in women. Women love to wait on one leg or have one leg sticking out or look cute. And I always say to them right away, like I said to someone this morning, I'm like, why are you standing like that? I'm like, stand in parallel. Keep your feet
She
even
yells
weighted.
At me all the time.
I do.
I'm not trying to look cute. I just, since I was 12, just one hip kind of moves over.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone likes to
and it's
that
comfortable
posture.
now.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable the other way.
I mean, if you ever take a look at magazines or anything on social media and you see all of these women pose in pictures, and I'm like, okay, this is so bad for you in so many ways. And
so you're not looking at the outfit.
I'm not. I was literally looking. I was on the corner of on Broadway and 40th this morning, and this woman's shoes were terrible. They were all worn in on one side, and she's walking with this limp, and she was complaining on her phone about her hip that was hurting her. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to grab her right now and tell her, oh my God, you need new shoes and you need to put an arch support in your shoe and you need to stand. But I was like, if I do that, she's going to think I'm absolutely nuts and be like, get away from me, you crazy woman.
And I just want you to know, listeners, that I had discovered later on in life, I guess, everyone knew except me, about Havaianas. And so I come in one day and I tell Melissa about the Havaianas. They're so comfortable. And instead of getting the sharing, smiling response that I think I'm going to get, Melissa says, I hope you're not wearing those outside on the sidewalk. And I said, well, if I go to the grocery, it's July. And she said, I can't believe this. You are not allowed to wear those outside. I see people walking around. What did you? She went, whoa. I was like, okay, all right, I promise. I promise.
Yeah, I hate women's shoes drive me insane. Like I always say, I want to kill the person who invented heels. Because they were not definitely in the medical field, because it puts your body at such a pitch and it affects your hips so much. And then we are in a concrete city. You cannot be walking around in 4-inch heels and think that this is not going to do damage down the line. I mean, to your hip socket, everything. You're not supposed to walk in those. I mean, like you have to think back to, I don't know, at the dawn of time, and the people were walking around in barefoot and sandals. We are not supposed to be in heels.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, they are pretty, and everyone thinks it looks great and makes your leg look great and thin and slim. But it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean,
and especially
there's a
with
reason.
with the osteoporosis in your hips or what have you.
With your hips and osteoporosis, you should be in a very supportive shoe. And you also, balance is huge. So I always, one of the first things I do is like, I just want you to start standing on one foot for 2 minutes, work up to 2 minutes, and they can't do it. And they're like so upset. I can't believe it. I thought I had a good balance. And I said, no,
That's also core work.
Yes, core is huge.
And by core,
abdominals, your abdominal strength, like the ability to contract your abdominals without cue. Like a lot of us, especially moms or women that had children or C-sections, they lose that whole abdominal area, and they didn't realize that, they're like, well, I look great. My stomach's nice and flat. I'm like, yeah, but you're sitting in your hips right now. You're sitting in your low back. You're not using your core, and you're wondering why you have back pain and hip pain. I said, because you were carrying your children for years, like on your hip. I always ask, what hip did you carry your kids on? They all know.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. And like ones that have twins, like twins is such a big thing now. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, get your weight out of your hips. Get it in your core. Use your core. I said, try to talk to me and have a conversation while pulling in your abdomen. They can't do it. And
it's hard if you are unaccustomed to it, or
if you're not trained, sure.
If you're not trained,
sure.
I mean, you have to think about it.
Right. You have to think hard about it. And a lot of people don't realize, like, wait, this is supposed to be on all the time? I said, all the time. I said, when you're sitting, it's supposed to be on. And for whatever reason, especially if you've had children or anything like that, or had C-sections, you lose that. And unless you retrain that, it won't come back. And then that's when the back pain starts and the hip pain starts.
So how does one retrain that? What is it? It's just holding in your stomach muscles as much as you can remember when you're sitting, or
right, when you're walking. I always tell them, like, do some like small contractions of your stomach when you're sitting in the subway, or you're sitting on a train ride or a car ride. I said, when you're walking, I do the conversation thing. Have a conversation with somebody while holding your stomach. See how long you can go without losing your breath. Because you shouldn't be holding in your breath. That's another thing. So that's why I say talk. So then it forces you to use your abdominal muscles and not hold your breath in, because that's not what we're trying to do. And then there's various like core exercises to do. Pilates is huge. Pilates is really great. Because also for osteoporosis, for women with osteoporosis or osteoarthritis, you don't want to be in too much of a weight-bearing position and cause like an inflammatory response. So what you want to do is, a lot of the exercises in Pilates are laying down, and it's really strengthening your core, and there's a lot of balance to it for some of the standing stuff, and it's really great for women, especially between the ages of 45 and 65. And
do you do Pilates?
I do Pilates. Yep, I do Pilates. I take a class on Fridays where I live, and it's very difficult, and that's the problem. A lot of people, they go to the Pilates class, they're like, I hate this because it's hard. They want something easy. They're like, I just want to go to Zumba and dance around. I'm like, yeah, but you're not using the right muscles. You could be injuring yourself.
And you're not focusing on it.
You're not focusing.
I know. I mean, it's taken me a while with Pilates. I'm not a huge aficionado myself, because it's very slow and steady.
Right.
And when I was a gym rat, I'm not a gym rat anymore.
Right.
But I used to love step class.
Yeah.
And bopping around.
Sure.
And dance class, because those there was a lot of movement.
Right, and not a lot of thinking. So, like,
No.
in Pilates, you have to think a lot. Like, am I using the right muscles? Am I in the right form? Every week, my Pilates instructor started laughing at me. She's like, I finally realized why you turn and face the other way for the first half of the class. And she's like, you don't want to look at anybody. And I said, right. I said, I can't stand to look at anybody because I want to get up and start fixing everybody, and I'm there for me. It's like my 1 hour a week for me, and I'm like, I can't look at anybody because it makes me so upset. And there's so many people that, for women especially, like they lose that, start to lose your hamstring flexibility, and they start slouching, and they have all this back pain, and they're aching, and they're complaining the whole time. And I would love to help every one of them, but
You need
it's
some
my
time. For
time.
yourself.
Yeah, it's like
Especially
my
'cause
1 hour.
And you have 2 little boys,
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah,
going.
so I'm like in over my head. So it's but yeah, no, Pilates or some form of yoga. I don't suggest doing like a crazy yoga class where they're, constantly in headstands and doing chaturanga.
Does heated, hot yoga, is that good for women? If you're going through menopause, you are not going to go to a hot yoga class.
And if you don't like heat, like me, I've been told I have too much. I think it's too much yang in my body. My acupuncturist said to me, which is like too much heat. I don't like anything above 80 degrees. I get very cranky. And when I first when I first started, I'll never forget. I was like, when I was 21, I was working with the Lion King, and they're like, come do this new thing, this new Bikram yoga, hot yoga. And I was like, okay. So I went with them, and the woman instructor was so mean, and she's like, you cannot have water. No water breaks until I say so. And we were standing there, and all of a sudden, like, I started seeing, like, stars, sparklies. I'm like, oh, this is not right. And I was like, I need water. I'm like, my body's not liking the heat. My body's not liking the heat. And then I don't remember what happened after that. I totally blacked out. And I woke up, and I was in the waiting area, and like the dancers from Lion King stuff were like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? And I was like, oh, I just can't do it. So it wasn't for me. So I'm not a hot yoga person.
Well, I guess we all know what we
but regular
what we
yoga,
like.
yeah. But some people love hot yoga. And hot yoga is very simple steps in yoga. It's the very basics of positions and forms. So that's actually, if you love the heat, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what about a subject that's near and dear to my heart? Hip bursitis and herniated discs.
And herniated discs. Well, two totally different things. So herniated discs are this gel between each vertebrae in your spine. And they say by the age of 21, everybody has one.
Everyone has some.
But no one knows because it's not symptomatic yet.
Mm-hmm.
And, that gel in between your vertebrae just starts to ooze out depending on how vigorous or active your life is.
Yeah, I've read that it's like a jelly donut whose filling is squirted out, which
Exactly.
is a great image.
It is.
I see those. I see that jelly donut in my head right now.
Yeah, and it's sad too because a lot of people are like, "Oh, okay, well, can't we just put the jelly back in the donut?" And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And, I said the jelly kind of comes out and then dies off, and then you have less and less space between your discs. So, I mean, there's been many theories where they're like, oh, you can do these exercises and the gel will go back in. And then I'm like, no, that's not true. It's, it's just a part of life. But
go ahead.
Core is the big thing with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it's like if you're sitting in your low back, when you're standing and you're putting all that pressure on your low back, you're not using your core, things are going to happen. And then add that with running or step class or Zumba, and it's a wear and tear.
So does stretching help that?
Well, for women, in that age range, a lot of us, like I said, we start to develop really tight hamstrings. Our calves get tighter, our IT band, which everybody hates, and along the side of your leg gets really tight. So it's really important to stay flexible. And we start to really lose our flexibility, anything over 45.
Mm-hmm.
So being very flexible is very important. Having a strong core is very important. And
but when you are experiencing hip bursitis, if you're in pain for for a hip bursitis as opposed to frozen shoulder syndrome,
Right.
you should be icing.
Depends.
Okay.
It depends, because some people respond well to the ice, and some people respond well to the heat,
Okay.
and there's no science to it.
There isn't.
No, it's just a weird thing.
All right.
So some people are like, oh, the ice really helps me, and then I have patients who are like, no, the heat really helps me. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Do you?
Whatever works.
I think our bodies are.
I know for me it was always icing.
Yeah, for a lot of people it is icing, and then I'm always proven wrong. Like, and then there's a woman that's like, oh my God, the heat is so much. It makes my my hip feel so much better. I'm like, okay, you know what? Then do that. Then do you. That's what I hate about medicine in general, because there is no clear-cut treatment.
It's not definitive.
No, it's not. And doing this for so long, I've seen so many different things that work for so many different people, and it's all a process of elimination. You have to find what works for you.
And working with your physical therapist.
Right. And also having the right physical therapist. Like, there's people that don't work well with me, and that's fine. And then I usually say, you know what? You try someone else.
Well, but that's because you yell at us.
I know I do. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. People used to tell me that I sharpen my elbows. I'll never forget that. They're like, you must sharpen your elbows at night.
No, I've never had that. Actually, I like, she yells at me, she laughs. The laugh is so infectious. I'm like, okay, she's yelling at me. Ha, ha, ha. All right, I'll listen. But bridges are good, too. Bridges.
Yes. So for hip bursitis, you want to have strong glute muscles, your butt muscles. So you want to strengthen those glutes. Bridges are really important. Lying on your side and lifting the side leg, Jane Fonda side lying hip abduction is what the technical term is. Clamshells, planks. Planks are great for core and for low back.
I never knew about planks until I was in my late 40s and had become a gym rat. And I remember the first time I did a plank, it was excruciating.
It was, yeah.
And then I could do a whole minute. And at one point, I could do over 3 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't ask me now.
Like a lot of the performers can hold it up to 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And but the norm is 2 minutes. So if anybody want to try anything like that, try a plank and see if you can hold it for 2 minutes. And if you do a plank every day, that's so good for everything, for your back, for your hips.
As long as you're doing it correctly.
As long as you're doing it correctly, yeah. You don't want your butt in the air. You don't want to be lowering in your stomach or
especially
causing a
once
sway
you start getting tired.
Oh yeah. So that means you have to quit. The minute you start to feel pain, you should quit right away.
So if there's a way, if you're not quite aware of your body, because you could think you're really in a plank full position,
but you're not.
But you're not. So you need to do it either at the gym or some mirror somewhere in your house. You need a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I always say to people, also, like, if you can, like, videotape yourself or have someone take a picture of you.
That's a good idea.
A lot of times I always tell people, take a picture of you doing the exercise. Let me see. Send it to me.
Yeah.
So I could see, what the problem is. Because they'll say, like, sometimes, oh, this hurts. I don't understand why this exercise hurts. And I'm like, well, let me see it. Because I can't.
That's right. I did that for you once where my husband videotaped me while I was doing it. And then I came and I showed you. And you told me how to adjust it.
Right.
Because when I do it with you, obviously I'm doing it correctly or I can get an immediate feedback. Whereas at home, you feel that you're doing it correctly, but you're actually not.
Right. You could be doing harm. So, it's always good to have constant rapport with your therapist.
Well, I was going to ask you about when to use an ice pack and a heat pack. I think we kind of there's really no definitive, formula.
No.
But so when is it best before people see you? Does the doctor usually say, or should you ask for, I need an ultrasound, I need an MRI?
No, the doctor will know when it's warranted, and if they believe by what you're telling them, what your subjective info is. If you need that MRI or that ultrasound, usually they start with an X-ray. And the thing that's really important is I always tell people to tell their doctors, I want a standing X-ray. You can't possibly see the stresses on a joint or on bone with an X-ray laying down. You can't. So you have to ask for that standing X-ray.
Okay.
It's so huge because you can't possibly see the stress on the spine, the stress in the hip or the knee or the ankle unless you do that standing X-ray.
All right.
So it's always good to ask for that. And they'll kind of be impressed that you knew that. And it's like, who'd you hear that from? Who told you that? And it's, yeah. So from there, from what they see on the x-ray, then they'll determine does this person need an MRI or does this person need a CAT scan? And then they'll always probably refer you to physical therapy from there.
Mm-hmm. And as far as over-the-counter treatments, I know, we're not prescribing anything here, but if you're in pain and you can't get to the doctor till Tuesday,
right?
Do you take an
anti-inflammatory?
An anti-inflammatory?
Yeah, I would take an anti-inflammatory if you feel like the pain and swelling. And it's very telling, too, because if you take the anti-inflammatory and it works, then you know, all right, then I'm dealing with something with inflammation or muscle. And if it doesn't work, then it might be something else. That's really important. Then you do get to the doctor.
But I would preface, even though it's after what we just said, but I will say that if, we're just talking here,
right.
But if people have medical conditions or things are going on or they're not sure, then call your doctor and say, I'm in pain. Is it okay if I take this anti-inflammatory or what anti-inflammatory or what can I take?
Especially if you're on
don't just say, I listened to this podcast and so now I'm going to go.
No, please do not do that.
No, please don't do that. Yeah.
No. I mean, if you're on like blood pressure medication or any kind of heart medication or menopausal medication for anything, you need to check with your doctor first and make sure you should be taking that because there are so many contraindications to so many medicines these days. I can't even keep track. So definitely talk to your doctor before taking any of this kind of stuff. And then I know the big thing, now is like the CBD oil and the blue emu oil and all these kinds of remedies. Again, always ask your doctor, should I be taking this? Because we don't really know, the side effects of things and how it might, work with your medicine that you're taking. And just because it's a fad doesn't mean that you rush out and get it.
Well, I wanted to also talk about 2 body parts that I didn't know about till I had my injuries and I came to you. And I'm fascinated. This is just Joanna being fascinated by something. The psoas muscle and the piriformis. So can you talk about that? Because maybe everybody knows about it, but I did not.
So the psoas muscle is a muscle in the front of your body. It goes from the 11th and 12th rib and then it attaches on the inner thigh. And it is your hip flexor muscle. So it's things like marching and sitting. And it becomes very tight because we're always in a sitting posture these days. And unless you keep that stretched out and in a loose state, it will cause back pain or hip pain. And sometimes it'll cause stomach pain. And you don't even realize it. Like I had a man last week and he thought he was having a hernia. And he's like, I have a hernia. And I was like, no. I think it's your psoas. He's like, well, I'm going to go to my doctor and find out. And I received a text from him on Tuesday and he's like, I can't believe you were right. It was my psoas muscle. And he's like, I was like, So I was like, yes, you're not dying. You don't have a hernia. You don't need to have hernia surgery.
But when you press on that psoas muscle near where the
hip
bone is,
well, it's your organ.
Ooh.
So like you're pressing right into someone's intestines. So they're like, oh my God, like are you supposed to be doing this to me? Like, is this normal? And they're like, are you going to damage my organs?
But
so
it releases it. It releases it.
It releases it, yes. And you usually get a quick release in the back as well because there's something around all our muscles and connected to everything, and it's called fascia. So the fascia from your hip flexor, your psoas, connects to your back. And unless sometimes when you release that, then you'll release other parts and the backside of your muscles in the back, and they're all kind of intertwined with this fascia. So it really helps to release the front, which is the hip flexors, the psoas, as well as the back muscles in conjunction of the two. And it really causes a lot of relief.
Okay. Now, how is the psoas connected to the
piriformis? No. So your piriformis is intertwined. It's in your butt muscles or your glutes. It's where your pelvis is. And the piriformis, unfortunately, becomes very tight because the only way to really stretch it is going into this kind of what yoga people call a pigeon pose or an external rotation of the hip. And who does that? not many people. So, someone who does yoga or someone who's in dance or performing arts might do that position, but other than that, no one really is doing that position. So it becomes very tight. And unfortunately, right there is something called your sciatic nerve.
Yes.
So what happens is when that gets pinched or when that muscle becomes very tight, it shuts off the supply to the sciatic nerve, and then you get this horrible burning and pain down your leg,
Which
back
many
of your leg.
women have experienced.
Many women experience. Yes. So the best thing to do is doing that stretch, the pigeon pose, or the it's also called figure 4 stretch, where you turn your leg out and you can lay down and do it, or you can do it the yoga way, the pigeon pose way, and keep that muscle stretched. The other way you can deal with it is by putting that wonderful lacrosse ball or pinky ball, which we use, and release that muscle.
I love those. I love those.
By
It can be
sitting in
painful.
that.
It's painful. I gave it to my sister. She can do it.
No, and a lot of people won't
do it.
No.
But I guess I seek pain. I don't know, because I was like,
You
yeah,
love the
this
pain.
really hurts, but I know it's going to feel better, and it does. It does.
No, it really does. It really does. And this little ball, which is like nothing, and I always tell people it's like a dog ball. It's like a rubber ball.
Yes.
And you like literally stick it in your butt, and you you can go on the floor, or you can go against the wall if you don't want to get down on the floor, and it really releases it, and I promise you will feel so much better, and then you'll be doing it all the time, like Joanna. And
You want to know what I
Sticky balls
did?
in
You
your
know what I
ass.
did? What? It's not. It's on the side. It's on the
Right.
side. I remember when I was having problems and we were going to the theater.
Right.
And I can't sit. I just can't sit for that long. And so I brought this little
brought
ball.
the ball?
I brought the ball. And I stuck
Get in your butt.
and I'm watching the play, and it helped me get through the whole evening.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like,
It was crazy.
It is.
And I was just, it was winter, so there were coats and all, so I could kind of
Hide it.
see. But when we got up for intermission, I was like,
no.
no, can't get up right away. Got to kind of get the ball, put it in my bag
I
secretly.
know. And if you got up, and what if the ball got away from you? Like all these people like falling over this. What is this ball?
Where's my ball? Is there a ball under your chair? No.
I remember you telling me that story, and I forgot if it was in a theater or a movie house.
I did it in a few other places. I went on a vacation, and again, I was. It's so much severe pain, and I said, we're going to a concert, and it's a classical concert, and I brought my ball. Only we had folding chairs, so and it was summer, so. I know there was this woman behind me. She was young. She was gorgeous and sexy. And here I am taking out
with this ball in your butt.
I don't know. I was like, I don't care. Just need to get rid of
And
this.
they're probably looking at you shifting in your chair. Like, what's wrong with this woman?
What
Does
is
she have
she
hemorrhoids
doing?
or something?
I hope it's not, odd. It's just odd. God knows what else they were thinking.
Oh, no.
But anyway, at that point, I was like, I don't care anymore.
So getting back to that, too, the
Yes.
other important thing that everyone should buy or have in their house is a foam roller.
Yes.
So,
Yes, that
the
was
foam
on my
roller.
list. Foam roller.
Go out and buy
Exclamation
a 6 by
points.
36 foam roller, and you roll out your hamstrings, your IT band, which it's so painful.
Yeah, I was just
promise
going
you,
to say,
yes.
please, everyone, realize that it's very painful.
It's very painful.
But it works.
No pain, no gain. Especially in this instant. And also, you can roll out your quads and your calf muscles and your back. It feels so good on your back to roll out with the foam roller, especially after sitting all day. If you could just get on that foam roller, I do it every day when I get home, and just kind of stretch out my back and roll everything out. It really makes a big difference. And even if you lie on it, parallel with a foam roller and lie on it and just kind of do like snow angels or arm movements, arm circles, it really helps to open up your chest, especially that pec muscle that we were talking about before for women with the rounded forward shoulders. It really helps open you up.
What's the best size?
The 6 by 36.
The 6 by 36.
Yeah, it's the best size.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can
Because
lay
they have
on
smaller
it.
ones too.
Yeah, like the smaller ones I usually tell people if they have to travel a lot, like a lot of women executives or women that travel a lot for shows or theater or whatnot, I always have them bring the small one. And someone was just telling me, I think there's this one now that deconstructs, like you can deconstruct it and then put it together, which would be really neat. I have to look at that.
I have a very large green
foam roller,
who I've nicknamed Harold. You know, and
do you like Harold or you do not like Harold?
I like Harold, but we're not the best of friends.
It's a mutual acquaintance.
Yes. But I've had him for a few years now, and he does work his magic. So there you go.
Harold, I'll remember that.
You like that one? I'm
Yeah,
glad.
I do.
So anyway, now dancers.
Yeah.
Dancers have, because they've used their bodies so excessively.
Exactly.
Once you hit middle age,
Right.
And I think we have a lot of dancers or in the listening audience.
Okay.
What are the common issues that you find with dancers?
Hip pain.
Okay.
It's major. It's from years of being on all these different stages. And a lot of people probably don't realize, like, Radio City is a steel stage. Like,
Is
imagine,
it?
yeah. Like, so imagine, like, dancing on that for years, especially if you were, like, a rockette.
I can't.
And on top of it, a 3-inch to 4-inch heel, right? Okay.
Those women are amazing.
They're truly amazing.
They're
gifted
our
beyond
heroes.
belief.
Yeah,
I know.
They are. They're magnificent.
And so, or even in Broadway and stuff like that, all heels are usually probably a minimum of 3 inches. So they're going to have a lot of hip pain or hip problems. So their hips break down. The lining of the hip basically breaks down as you get older, and even more so if you've been very active or you know. So with that, and a lot of them, like, after they're done performing or they're retired, they stop doing everything. You know, they might still exercise, but they're not doing it to the extent that they were doing it. So they start to feel everything. Oh my gosh, my hips, or like this groin pain they start having, and this decreased space in their hip. So for them, it's very important to stay flexible. And
the roller really is helping when you're
Roller.
talking about, because what I'm walking away from here with the conversations that we're having, which I know, but you always need to be reminded too, is stretching, core, roller helps.
Roller. Yep. And taking good care of yourself. Wearing those flat shoes, not wearing heels. Going back to the heels again.
She has instilled that into me, that every time I put on if I have to go out, I put on a pair of high heels. I'm like, Melissa's not going to be happy.
Someone once told me,
and I haven't seen you in like over a year, but I still say to myself, Melissa's not going to be happy.
Yeah. There's so many people that have said to me, you're in my head constantly. Like, every time I put something on or I wear a bag, like, because that's my big thing too.
The bag. I know.
Like, I don't stress it enough. I hate the tote bag. It's so bad for your shoulder.
I love tote bags,
I know.
by the way.
Women love tote bags. Yeah. And I was like, why can't over
see
the
that
shoulder
one
bag?
right there in the corner? Yeah, I know.
And they're like, backpack, and they're like, oh, backpack, that's terrible. How could you ask me to wear that? And I was like, well, backpacks are coming in now, and they are. I know. So I'm like so happy. I'm like, someone's listening. Someone actually is definitely.
But you see, as a native New Yorker, I'm always thinking somebody is going to try to pickpocket my backpack.
Oh, okay. So that's me.
Oh, that's you. Okay. I'm always concerned about that.
That's true.
Don't listen to me. What do I know?
Well, I always say, like, put your important stuff at the bottom of the backpack.
Right.
But yeah, no, or like a crossbody bag.
Yes.
Because the tote bag, and that's the other problem. Women carry so much crap in their bags, and they don't realize how bad it is for your shoulder and your neck over time to be lugging that kind of stuff. And some women now, I've gotten them who are moving around all day in the city to carry those traveling backpacks, the ones on wheels.
Oh yes.
And so I've gotten I have women that say, "Oh my God, it's changed my life," and it's true. So yeah, no, I don't.
Well, this has been very informative. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I hope everyone has perhaps learned something.
I hope so.
Yes.
Even one tidbit.
And so we always end with, we ask a few questions. And one is, what makes you smile?
My kids.
Yeah, they're so adorable.
They are. Seeing them happy and spending time with them is huge. And I'm realizing it's going so fast. They're now 8 and 11, and they're growing up so fast. And my friend the other day was like, treasure it, because they grow up so fast and then they don't want you around anymore. And they won't, someone said the other day, I came in and my dentist came in and said, my kids stopped coming in and like running to the door when I get home. He's like, it all stopped. He's like, so treasure it, like enjoy it. So they make me smile, and seeing how my husband is with them is so great. And that's what makes me happy.
And what steams you?
What steams me? What steams me is how I think everyone's become so self-absorbed, and how we've forgotten to look at each other in the eyes anymore, or say hello, or, I always make it a point every day when I get off my bus or I get on my bus, I say good morning to the bus driver, and I get off the bus and I say, have a nice day, or, just being kind to one another, and don't forget that we all exist, and I feel like everyone doesn't pay attention to anyone anymore. Like, you feel like the whole city is like looking down at their phones and not paying attention to what's going around them. And that's really irks me, that we've lost a lot of communication with each other as human beings.
I think you're right. I absolutely agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I'll change it around a bit. Do you have a favorite TV crush?
Someone I think is attractive?
I don't know. How do you interpret TV crush?
Well, I've been watching the Sanditon? I don't know if I'm going to say this right, and forgive me. The Jane Austen PBS miniseries that's on right now.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Okay.
The man, and I don't know his name, the character, but the young man that the girl, I think, she's pining over him. He's very attractive.
Oh, all right.
So I find him very attractive.
Okay. But you don't have his name.
No.
Oh, all right.
No.
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
I don't know his name either.
I mean, I'm still in awe. Brad Pitt, I'm in awe.
Yeah.
I
looks good. He looks good.
Someone said the other day, I think it was Trevor Noah said the other day that he's like Benjamin Button, his character Benjamin Button. He's like getting better with age. And I'm like, how does he do this? He's got like a glow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so not fair. Because women, like, it's like,
Don't
why can't women do that?
Don't go there.
I know. But I feel like, so that he's still my crush. He's my crush since like Legends of the Fall. Like,
really?
Okay. Oh my God. I've always been obsessed with him.
And if you had to give any women advice who are turning 40, going to their 40s, going to their 50s, you have any words of wisdom?
Take time for yourself. More than anything, spend at least, give an hour to yourself a week, and especially if you have craziness and a crazy life going on. Take time to think about yourself, what makes you happy, what you want for yourself. I don't think women in general do that a lot. I think we are such givers, and we always are worrying about everyone else but ourselves. That's huge.
Okay. Well, thank you, Melissa.
Oh, you're welcome.
As usual, always wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
So I have a book recommendation. We always do a book recommendation,
okay.
Being an avid reader. This isn't a new book. This has been out for quite some time, but I enjoyed it, and so I took it off my bookshelf, and I'm planning to reread it, so I thought I'd mention it. Okay. It's called Elegance by Kathleen Tesaro, Kathleen with a K. Tessaro, Tesaro, and it's called Elegance. And Elegance is about a woman in midlife who looks to a fictional French fashion expert in a book who promises to transform women into creatures of grace and poise. And she also advises on husband problems, false friends, and good quality sexy lingerie.
Okay.
So it's basically an alphabetical journey from A to Z about timeless fashion, true friendship, and the unexpected gift of love. So it's just enjoyable. It's a fun read. It's kind of like chitlet. Chitlet. What's it called? Femlit. Not chiclets. But anyway, It's a woman's book. So we'll close with our motto. Remember, kindness counts. Thanks, Melissa.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Good.